Stop waiting. Stop waiting. I want you to think for a minute how long the earth has been here. And I want you to also think about how long humans have been on the earth. We don't have an exact figure in terms of how long humans have been on the earth, but we do know how long humans have been writing. We know how long written history is. It's more than 5,000 years. So let's just say 5,000 years. Let's just say human history is 5,000 years, written history. Not like pots and pans and pottery and stuff that people found. I'm not saying how old humans are. I'm just saying how long human history is. How long we can actually go back and read information, whether it's hieroglyphics or different types of pictures that people left. They were trying to communicate. They were trying to leave some type of information to show us what life was when they were here. Okay, so if we look at human history, written history, as 5,000 years, there's some things I want you to notice, okay? So 90% of those 5,000 years, 90% of 5,000 years is 4,500 years. I want you to think about what I'm going to say, okay? I want you to really, really think about what I'm going to say. So for 4,500 years, people didn't have airplanes. If they wanted to go somewhere, they built boats, okay? And there's evidence that people traveled from as far as Africa, even to the Americas, on boats thousands of years ago. During the last 5,000 years, people traveled from all over. They traveled from all over. I mean, they traveled by ships, by boats, okay? 90% of those 5,000 years, there was no visa. You didn't have to have no visa to go to another country. If you wanted to go to another country, you just went, okay? You didn't like go and sign up some visa. 90% of the 5,000 years, nobody had a visa. You just went from France to, there weren't even borders most of the time. Not most of maybe half of the 5,000 years there were borders. But for the most part, in the first 2,500 years, there was no borders. People just traveled. They went from one place to the next place, and they called it whatever they wanted to call it. They called it Carlton's Town, okay? So you need to think about that. There was no credit. There was no credit score. For the majority of those 5,000 years of written history, no credit score. People did not have credit scores, okay? There was no resume. There was no CV. There were no computers. There were no, did I say automobiles? I say cars. There were no cars. No airplanes. Most of the things, heck, I'm looking around me, no televisions. No televisions. 90% of those 5,000 years, no televisions, no printers, probably no file cabinets. I'm looking around me. Most of the things that we think we need, they didn't have. And they survived. People survived. Not only did they survive, they did great feats, great successes, great accomplishments. I mean, how long ago were the pyramids made in Mexico? How long ago were the pyramids made in Egypt? To this day, most of science still can't figure out how they made some of those pyramids. I mean, we're pretty smart in 2020. We're pretty smart. And we still can't figure out how people made pyramids, how they got the stones to Stonehenge. There's so many things about what ancient civilizations did that were intelligent that we still can't figure out. But what I want you to think about is that the majority of time that men and women have been on this earth, they did not have the things that we think we need, the things that we make an excuse as to why we're not going to do what we plan to do or what we dream about. If you have a dream, if you have a vision, go for it. If you're in Nigeria and you want to come to the United States, go to the United States. Don't don't say, "Oh, well, I can't go because I don't have a visa," or "I can't go because I don't have a car," or "I can't go because I don't have a computer." If you're if you want to be a doctor, don't say, "I can't be a doctor because I don't have the money to go to school." Let's look at the 5,000 years. For 90% of those 5,000 years, doctors did not have MDs. If you want to be a doctor, be a doctor. I'm not telling you to practice doctor without a certificate, or I'm not telling you to practice being a doctor without proper certification. But what I am saying is that you become a doctor the day you say, "I'm a doctor." Okay? It doesn't mean that you can practice necessarily, but you got to start taking on that. You got to take on that image. You got to take on that. You got to own it. You got to own it. I'm a doctor. Start looking at ways to help cure people. There was a guy, I think his name was Dr. Seki or something, that I don't think he was an MD, and he understood how to cure the majority of diseases, and he talked a lot about mucus and getting rid of mucus. The guy was amazing. Didn't have an MD. Didn't have an MD. And the majority of doctors who have lived in the past didn't have MDs. You can start studying human biology, go to medical school. But while you're going to medical school and while you're studying biology or biochem or whatever your major is, while you're studying, start looking at common sense ways to heal people. Don't experiment on humans, but start being more observant. Start doing your homework. Start thinking, what is it that people can do to see better? What is it that people can do to not snore? What is it that people can do to get rid of the growth that's on their skin? Start coming up with common sense ways to heal people. You don't have to be an MD to be a doctor. Now, I'm not telling you to practice, but what I am telling you to do is live your calling. Live your calling. So many of us feel like we have to have something. I can't do that. I can't get a job. I don't have a computer. Or I can't work because nobody will hire me. Come on. Look at the 5,000 years. How many people were hired? How many people were hired during 90% of those 5,000 years? People survived. People went into their backyards and planted a garden. You can go and plant a garden. Why don't I have seeds? Well, stop throwing the seeds away when you buy an apple from the store, man. You buy an apple from the store, save those seeds. You buy an orange, save those seeds. When you buy fruit, save the seeds. Learn how to germinate those seeds and build a flourishing garden in your backyard. What I'm saying, man, is stop waiting. Stop waiting to have something to go after your dreams, because everything you need is in your heart, is in your soul, is in your mind. And that is that measure of faith that God has implanted in you. When you get that measure of faith and you start to get a revelation of the fact that God has given you a measure of faith, then you say, "You know what? I'm a doctor." You say, "You know what? I'm going to America." You say, "You know what? I'm going to France, or I'm going to England, or I'm going to be an NBA player, or I'm going to be a MLB player." Whatever it is that you want to do, you got to go for it. Stop saying you're not enough and that you need more. And you need more toothpaste, and you need more money, you need better glasses, and you need a computer, and you need this software, you need this, you need that, you need this, you need that. And it's just slowing you down. No, what you need is you need faith. What you need is you need to say, "You know what? I am going to start a business." You need to say, "I am going to get a job. I'm going to get this job at this particular place," and apply. Go online and apply right now. Yeah, you may not have what they're looking for, but when you go online, you might see other jobs that you do qualify for. You may not get into Harvard, but when you start applying to schools, you might get into a Cal State. You might get into a state college, or you may get into a community college. And before you know it, man, you finished the community college, and you finished the state college, and you went on to the university, and now you're a doctor. You got to get started, man. You got to jump into it head first. You got to stop waiting. You got to stop waiting. You got to stop waiting. So many of us are waiting like we need something. We don't need anything. We don't need the government to tell us to put a mask on. Put a mask on. Save yourself from this coronavirus. If you want that woman, man, stop waiting. I'm not saying if you're big and fat and out of shape and she's in great shape to go knock on her door. But what I am saying is start doing push-ups, start doing sit-ups, start pushing back from the plate, start measuring your waist, start seeing how much you weigh. Bring that weight down from 380 pounds, bring it down to 300 pounds, bring it down to 250, bring it down to 200 pounds to where you got that six pack, and then go knock on her door and say, you know what? I like you. You're beautiful. I want to take you out. I want to be your man. What I'm saying, man, is you got to speak it into the universe. You got to speak that you want that man. You got to speak that you want that woman. You got to speak that you have that job. You got to speak that you started that business. You got to speak it and you got to go after it. Stop making excuses that you need stuff, because all you need is you.